What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Underdog Podcast. Today we have a video for you. Today is going to be my top 5 cornerbacks video. This will be coming out on Saturday. So I hope you all enjoy. This corner class is really, really good, really deep. There's definitely some sleepers out there. I want to talk about 2 honorable mentions before we get into the list. My first one is Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State. Dude is really flying under the radar. He tested super well at the combine. Incredibly athletic dude. Really, really good in man and zone coverage. Can play in pretty much any scheme. Little bit short. Has really good ball skills. Really, really like him. I've got a second round grade on him. He's going to be absolute beast. Coming out of Sam Houston State. And then my other one is Kyler Gordon, who has kind of gotten some first round buzz. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round because he's very good technique wise. I don't think he's got the long speed of that you look for in a corner, but he's super good technique. Going to be a really nice man corner and a day 2 guy or a number 2 guy to start right away. He's going to be in there. He's going to be really solid. Could eventually turn into a number 1. But I really like him as a number 2 guy just right from the get-go. He's going to be a really solid starter. I have a first to a second round grade on him because I do think for certain teams that need a number 2 corner, Kyler Gordon could be your guy. So now let's get into the actual list with my number 5 corner on the board, and that is Elim from Florida. Elim, I believe it was last year, was really, really hyped up to be probably the best corner in this class. And then he kind of, dipped off. He had a really, really good freshman year in 2019. 2020, he was even better. And then last year, he kind of was injured, didn't really have as good of a year as he did his sophomore year, but still was really good. He's super long frame, sturdy, and really is really good in press coverage. He is super experienced against SEC competition with nearly 1,000 career coverage snaps. He's definitely going to come in and be not going to be super raw at all. He's going to be like very, very consistent coming in for you from the get-go. So he's grabby at the top of the routes. He was flagged 7 times last season. And then sometimes he struggles to throttle down on like comeback routes, on anything that's breaking back to the quarterback. And then he did miss 3 games with a knee injury last season. So there are some injury concerns, but not overly critical. He played in the box some, kind of as a strong safety role, but mostly played out wide as a corner and also played a little bit in the slot. I think he's really good in a press zone scheme. That's probably his best fit. So any cover 2 system, that's going to be where Elim thrives. I also think he could play man because he is super physical. He's bigger for a corner. He's like 6'2", pushing 200. So I really am a big fan of Elim. I think, he's typically, he's your typical SEC corner, physical, always in the face of everybody else. I think he does remind me actually of Eric Rowe when he was in his prime, like in New England, like against Julio in that Super Bowl. Long, physical, athletic. I think that can be Elim someday as being, what Eric Rowe was in his prime and being definitely more consistent than Eric Rowe was. But I think that is a pretty good comp for Elim coming out of Florida. And then my number 4 guy, all the rest of these guys have a true first-round grade, but he does have a true first-round grade for me, is Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson. And he is Definitely a little smaller than Kyrie Elim. He's 6 foot, about 195. But he is more of a, I think he's more of a zone scheme fit, but he can play man. Clemson ran a lot of both, so he can be in really any class, any type of coverage that you want to be, any scheme that you want to be. Things he does well. He has patient feet. He doesn't bait on double moves at all. He's got really good footwork, really good back pedal, and is able to get out of his back pedal really fast as well. He's really good at turning, flipping his hips, and running along with the receiver, and he's also really good at coming down in the run game. But tackling definitely is an issue for him. He drives out of his pedal with explosiveness, which is what I just talked about, and then he has strength throughout his frame, and he has long arms for a 6-foot guy. Sometimes he leaves his feet with reckless abandonment as a tackler, but that can be fixed. Again, like I said, if you go to the right system, New England being really good at teaching DBs how to tackle should be fine. He doesn't have the long speed that matches his short area quickness. He's more quick than fast, but I don't think that the long speed is particularly an issue. That's like super, super concerning. And then he's not as experienced as like Kyrie Elim, who's been starting since he was a freshman. This was his first year as a full-time starter. 2020, he did play 333 snaps, but this season he played almost 600. Like, he played one more coverage snap than he did total snaps last season. And he did allow a lot of completions last season, 61.2% for 329 yards, and then 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year. I think Booth, he wasn't a slot guy. I think he's mainly going to be a, outside guy, and then played a little bit in the box. But like I said, Booth, I think he's more versatile. I think Elim has to go to either a cover 2 or a man scheme. I think Andrew Booth Jr. could play zone. He could play man. He could play almost anywhere. So watch out for that. Value for him is true first-round grade. And then he's, I think Vontae Davis is a good comparison for him. I think he's long like Vontae Davis and, was versatile. Vontae Davis played in a lot of different schemes and was a couple-time Pro Bowler. So I think Andrew Booth Jr. could definitely turn into that. And then my number 3 guy is from low-key DBU, from UW, Trent McDuffie. McDuffie, I think, is getting really overshadowed by Sauce and Derek Stingley Jr. at the top of the class as being kind of like the 2 guys, but McDuffie is just as good as them in my opinion. He's like right there with them. He's a top 12 to 10 player in this class in my opinion. And I just don't think a lot of people are giving him enough credit. I really, truly think McDuffie is that good. At 5'11", 193, he's smaller than any of these other guys, but I think he plays just way, way better than, he plays more physical than that size. His acceleration is probably the best in this class. I mean, start-stop ability is ridiculous for McDuffie. Best tackling corner in this class, really, really good against the run. UW always looks for their corners to be very good in the run game, hence Byron Murphy, hence Marcus Peters, hence Kyler Gordon, who's also in this class, hence Budda Baker. I know he played safety, but he also played a lot of slot corner at Washington. He may be short, but he's not small. He's definitely built really, really good in press man coverage. He may not meet your height, length thresholds for some teams, but I truly don't think that matters. I think McDuffie, like I said, is a top 10, 12 player in this class, and is going to be really, really good. He had spot drop zone coverage and limited press man. I think he can do press man. I don't see why he couldn't, but again, I think best scheme fit probably is going to be off man. I think he has the physicality to play press man, but off-man coverage is going to be McDuffie's like best fit. And then his ball production wasn't near anywhere of his peers. He only had 9 pass breakups on 100 targets, which is a concern, but we'll see if that translates to the NFL or not. And I think a lot of people by this like height weight ratio are going to put him in the slot. I think he's purely an outside corner. Just that's where he played at Washington. I think that's where he's going to continue to play in the NFL. He wins at agility. His role is off man or zone. He can play in the slot. He could even play safety. I like him best on the outside. I think he's just got some of the best technique in this class. Press is an improvement, but like I said, the size, the physicality doesn't bother me. I think he's, good enough size to play press, and he's also physical. I really think Trent McDuffie could play that role on the outside as a press corner. He really does remind me of Jair Alexander. Jair wasn't the biggest guy coming out. I think Jair was like 6'1", 195, but Jair has turned into a top 2 corner in the NFL. I think McDuffie could do that certainly as well. Again, my value was true round 1, borderline top 10 for Trent McDuffie. And then my number 2 guy really would be my number 1 dude. If there weren't the injury concerns, the foot injury was definitely a concern for me for Stingley Jr., but he definitely ran really well and really impressed. So I think they're really like 1A, 1B for me. I just like the guy at number 1 a little bit better. But Derek Stingley Jr., I'm telling you, in 2019, his freshman tape, where he played 986 snaps, 589 coverage snaps, was allowed under 40% completion percentage, and had 6 interceptions with a 91.7 grade, was the best tape I've ever seen out of any defensive back ever. I mean, Derek Stingley Jr. was talked about as like the number 1 pick as a corner after his freshman season. I mean, he was that good. He's a local Baton Rouge kid. I mean, he was a freaking legend after that season. And then 2020 had injuries. 2021, again, was plagued by injuries. I think Stingley Jr., after that 2019 season, everybody left. Jamar Chase opted out because he was eligible for the draft after that season. He was just focusing on that. I really think Stingley kind of shut it down and wasn't really the player that you saw as a freshman because there just wasn't any like super big motivation for him. I mean, he was already going probably top 10 regardless. There was no way LSU was going to win a national title. I mean, he just kind of shut it down, I think, in my opinion. But I really think if Stingley Jr. gets back to that, I mean, he's consistent all-pro no matter what. He has first-class speed. He is not afraid of getting beat deep. His press man pedigree is just off the charts. I think any team that's high man coverage, Stingley's going to fit in perfectly. And then feet and hips you don't see every day. Really, really good at backpedaling and then flipping his hips or backpedaling and then exploding out of that. I don't think it's as good as McDuffie, but it's pretty damn good for a corner. Again, extensive injury history, which is the reason why for me he's not at number 1. He missed significant time this season with a foot injury, and then in 2020 he missed a little bit of time as well. Not a great tackler, kind of similar to like Greedy Williams. He's not really going to do that in the run game. And then too often he gets lost passing off receivers in zone coverage. So I think he's mainly going to be a man guy or cover 2. So like Lovie Smith's scheme in Houston. I don't think he's like the greatest fit for like Saleh's defense. So I think Houston, I think Minnesota would be a good place to go. New England, Not saying he's going to fall to Minnesota or New England, but like the scheme purpose, like that's where he's going to be the best. And again, he's outside corner through and through. Could play in the slot, but I think he's definitely more of an outside guy. He wins in athleticism. He's going to be your island guy. Just put him on the best receiver. Don't even think about it. That's going to be his job. And then I think he just needs to get more consistent at the next level. For Derek Stingley Jr. Again, my value for him is top 10. And then guys who he reminds me of. Obviously you look at the LSU guys from the past. I think, a good comparison might be Patrick Peterson. I think just in terms of like the way he plays, he was very, very good at, just being a lockdown corner on an island. And I think he really could be Patrick Peterson. Peterson had similar athletic profiles. He was super, super athletic coming out of LSU. Drafted high, wore number 7 at LSU. I really think that Stingley could live up to that billing. I think Pat Pete's a little bit taller and longer, but I think that in terms of play style, they're very, very similar. And then my number 1 guy is Ahmad Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. Again, I think he is the best corner in this class. With pterodactyl-like build, with a massive wingspan for a corner, which really helped him at Cincinnati, not allowing a touchdown throughout his career. Which, again, I don't look at as much as other people, but it is true. He ends routes before they start. He plays bully ball. I mean, he gets up in people's faces and just does not let them off the line. And then he was built in a lab to play press. He had 851 press coverage snaps in his career. Does have a tendency to get a little bit tall when flipping his hips, so he has slower transitions. Speed people thought was a concern, but he did run 4.4, so I think that answered all the questions that I needed to for him. And then he only has a few games against top competition in his career, but when he did play against them, he shut him down. I mean, look at what happened to Jameson Williams when Sauce Gardner was covering him. I mean, 2 catches for 14 yards, I think. I mean, book it. This dude's going to be a beast at 6'3", 193. I think for Sauce, he's going to have to go to, again, either a press man team or like a cover 2 team. I think similar to Stingley, he thrives in press. He's not really going to play like off man. He's not going to play, cover 3. I think he's definitely, press man, and he's an island guy, just like Derek Stingley Jr. I think that those two really are the best at getting into the face of the receiver across the line of scrimmage and shutting them down for the entire game. But I think definitely Sauce is going to have to improve on his zone reps and IQ. He just didn't do that a ton in Cincinnati. He played a lot of press man coverage, and that's where he thrives in, and that's where he's going to continue to thrive in at the next level. My value for him is top 10. He's built similarly to like a Jimmy Smith. He's going to be a much better player than Jimmy Smith, but that is a good comp for him. I'm trying to think of other ones. No, Brent Grimes is a lot shorter. But yeah, Jimmy Smith's a good comparison. Anybody who's tall, long at the cornerback position. But I think Jimmy Smith's a very good comparison for him. So that's it for my corners video. I hope you all enjoyed that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Tune into safeties tomorrow, and then tune into my mock draft next week. It's going to be really, really good. Definitely going to be some surprises. I've definitely changed it up a little bit. So I hope you guys are around for that, and then I will let you know further what I am doing for the live stream. But thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day, and peace.